In the year 2525, humanity had reached the pinnacle of technological advancement. The Earth, once a cradle of civilization, had transformed into a bustling hub of knowledge, exploration, and power. But despite humanity's meteoric rise, it had always been under the shadow of alien civilizations, superior species who treated Earth as a pawn in the vast game of the galaxy. The Interstellar Coalition, a conglomerate of various extraterrestrial empires, had dominated space for centuries, and Earth had long been considered insignificant, a mere speck in the grand design. However, Earth had always been a place of resilience. A place where humanity, with its infinite resourcefulness, would eventually rise above its limitations. The aliens, accustomed to their dominance, had never imagined that humans, who had once been ruled by the whims of extraterrestrial overlords, would one day challenge their reign. But that day was about to come. It began with a mysterious signal. A deep space anomaly had appeared on the outer edges of the Sol system, something no advanced species had ever seen before. The signal was faint, but it was unmistakably human in origin. Scientists and engineers scrambled to analyze it, their theories racing at the speed of light. Was it an ancient message left by early humans? Or was it something far more threatening? The world waited in a tense silence. The governments of Earth, still reeling from years of political fragmentation, struggled to unite under a common banner. The coalition had sent diplomats to Earth countless times, but the idea of a unified human front seemed like a pipe dream. However, with the appearance of the signal, the entire planet began to stir. A collective sense of urgency gripped humanity as scientists, politicians, and military leaders rallied together to decipher the enigma. Then, as if in response to Earth's quiet stirrings, a fleet of alien warships arrived. The Dravari, a ruthless, technologically advanced insectoid race, had been the first to make contact with Earth centuries ago. They had conquered, subjugated, and left their mark on humanity. Their fleet had arrived without warning, descending through the atmosphere with a terrifying speed and precision. The planet watched as their ships blanketed the sky, their sleek forms cutting through the clouds like blades of death. Their message was simple, delivered through a universal translator. Earth is to surrender. All resistance is futile. You are nothing. The Dravari, with their massive warships and merciless reputation, had expected immediate compliance. The message reverberated across every screen, every device, as humanity froze in fear. To the Dravari, Earth was just another planet to conquer, another species to dominate. But they had underestimated one thing: Earth was not like the other worlds they had crushed under their heels. The human spirit was not easily broken. President Elaine Westbrook of the United Earth Government stood in the heart of the command center, her eyes steely with resolve. The world's leaders had gathered in this moment of crisis, knowing that they had to act. They could either cower under the weight of the Dravari threat or fight back. Though their odds seemed slim, the world was not prepared to let its fate be sealed without a fight. Westbrook's voice cut through the tense silence as she addressed the world through the global communication network. We will not surrender. We will stand strong. Her words were like a spark in dry tinder. The people of Earth, from every continent, took to their feet. There were no more divisions, no more borders between nations. The global defense network was activated, and the once disjointed military forces of Earth, scattered across the planet, began to mobilize under one unified command. The message of defiance spread like wildfire, broadcasted across every media channel and heard by every individual. Humanity will not fall. The Dravari, used to effortless conquests, were stunned. A planet that had always bent to the will of others was now rising in opposition. They had anticipated this might be a show of defiance, but they never expected it to be organized. Humans were preparing to fight. However, as the fleets of human ships began to take formation, the Dravari's arrogance was only momentarily shaken. They had superior numbers, better weapons, and technology that outclassed humanity's by millennia. They had fought and defeated countless worlds. Yet there was something about humanity's tenacity that intrigued them. Something they had never quite encountered before. On Earth, the first shots were fired, an experimental missile launched from a newly constructed orbital platform. It streaked across the sky, a burst of light and fury, striking one of the Dravari's ships. The blast was significant, but it was far from enough to stop the alien advance. Yet it was a message, loud and clear: humanity was not going down without a fight. In the aftermath of the first strike, the galaxy held its breath. The Dravari had not expected Earth to fight back with such determination, but they were not ones to retreat in the face of a challenge. Their ships hovered ominously over Earth, their massive forms casting shadows on cities below. To the untrained eye, it seemed like a hopeless standoff. Yet humanity was not the same as it had been centuries ago. Despite being outclassed technologically, humanity possessed a unique advantage: its unity. For the first time in history, the fractured nations of Earth had put aside their differences and were working as one. The once chaotic political landscape had been swept away by a single, unified command, under the leadership of President Westbrook, who had transformed into the symbol of humanity's resistance. The world's military leaders gathered at the New Earth Defense Command, EDC, located deep beneath the surface in a secure underground facility. The EDC had been built years earlier as a precaution, anticipating the day when humanity might face an existential threat. Now that day had come, and its purpose had been fulfilled. High-ranking generals, engineers, and strategists convened, poring over the alien threat and humanity's possible responses. "Captain Liam Sharp, what's the status of the fleet?" President Westbrook asked, her tone firm and resolute. Sharp, a seasoned war veteran, had been tasked with leading Earth space forces. "We've completed initial preparations, Madam President. We've retrofitted several civilian ships with weapons and defense systems. It's not much, but it's something. The main concern is our orbital defense grid. We're still calibrating it for optimal use. It won't be ready for another 12 hours at least." The tension was palpable in the room, but Sharp's words carried a sense of optimism. Humanity had never faced an enemy like the Dravari, but they were adapting fast. No one had ever thought that humans would be able to build such a coordinated defense against an empire as vast and ancient as the Dravari, but the raw determination of Earth's engineers and military leaders was proving otherwise. As the hours passed, Earth's scientists worked tirelessly to analyze the Dravari ships and technology, looking for weaknesses. Dr. Mia Tamsin, one of humanity's leading experts on extraterrestrial engineering, had uncovered a peculiar pattern in the Dravari's energy signatures. The Dravari ships, despite their overwhelming power, seemed to have an Achilles heel, an energy fluctuation that occurred when their shields were activated. Tamsin's discovery was a spark of hope. Earth's engineers had already started reverse engineering alien technology in secret, and now, they had the breakthrough they needed. The solution would be simple yet audacious: if Earth could exploit the shield weakness, they might just have a fighting chance. "President Westbrook, we have a plan," Tamsin announced as she entered the command room, her face aglow with excitement. "We found a way to breach their shields. It's risky, but if we use a concentrated pulse from our largest space station, we can destabilize their shield frequencies long enough for our fleets to make a direct hit." Westbrook leaned forward, her voice steady. "How soon can we implement it?" "We can fire the first test shot within the hour. But, Madam President, we'll need to be ready to strike at the exact moment we create the opening. There won't be much time." The weight of the decision was heavy, but Westbrook knew that this was humanity's best chance. She turned to Sharp. "Captain, prepare the fleet. We make our stand now." Sharp nodded, his eyes narrowing with determination. "It's time to show them that we're not just prey." Across Earth, the call to arms had been answered. Cities that had once been consumed by their daily routines now hummed with activity, the people of Earth coming together to defend their home. Soldiers, engineers, civilians, and scientists all stood side by side, working together toward a singular purpose: survival. The first test pulse from Earth's space station was fired, and for a moment, nothing happened. Then, the Dravari fleet responded with an unexpected fury. Their shields flared up, glowing a bright green, but the concentrated pulse was hitting them harder than anticipated. A ripple ran through the Dravari ships. Their shields flickered, and one of their largest cruisers, a ship nearly 10 miles long, suddenly buckled, its shield failing entirely. The ship's internal systems malfunctioned, causing a chain reaction that detonated the vessel in a brilliant explosion. It was a victory, but a fleeting one. The Dravari quickly reconfigured their defense systems, and the fleet retaliated with laser precision. But now, Earth had the momentum. The first punch had been thrown, and the Dravari were not as invincible as they had thought. The first cracks had appeared in the seemingly impenetrable armor of the universe's oldest empire. Earth's true defiance had begun. The taste of victory was sweet, but short-lived. As the Dravari fleet reeled from the destruction of their cruiser, Earth's military leaders began to breathe a little easier. The unexpected success of the shield-breaching pulse gave them a moment of hope. But, in the deep silence of space, the true cost of defiance began to show itself. The Dravari had underestimated the power of Earth's resilience. They had expected a quick victory, one swift strike, and the human world would fold. But humans had done what they had always done best: adapt. Earth's military was quickly evolving, deploying new strategies and tactics based on every scrap of information they could gather. However, the Dravari were not ones to suffer defeat quietly. They had their own secrets, resources and technologies beyond what Earth could even begin to comprehend. In the days following the destruction of the Dravari cruiser, Earth's forces faced a relentless barrage. Their victory was a spark, but the Dravari response was an inferno. Dozens of Dravari ships advanced toward Earth, each one bristling with weapons far beyond what humanity could imagine. It quickly became clear that the Dravari had a secret weapon, a weapon so powerful that it made the first wave of attacks seem like a warning shot. Earth's defenses are holding for now, but we can't sustain this much longer, Captain Sharp said as he stood in front of the holographic map of the battlefield. His expression was grim, the weight of the situation pressing down on him. Their reinforcements are massive. We'll be overwhelmed if we don't act fast. President Westbrook paced in the command center, her mind racing. The humans had fought back, but their forces were still outnumbered, their weapons still primitive compared to the Dravari's arsenal. Yet there was one thing they had that the Dravari didn't: the element of surprise. Activate the countermeasures, Westbrook ordered, turning to Tamsin. We'll need the shields up, all systems go. We can't afford to hold anything back now. In the depths of Earth's hidden military bunkers, the global defense systems were pushed to their limits. The once undeveloped nations were now all contributing to a unified effort, pooling resources and ingenuity to create weapons never before seen on the battlefield. Every single civilian and soldier felt the weight of the moment. This wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a fight for their future, for the future of humanity itself. As the Dravari fleet closed in on Earth's orbit, the human forces deployed a final, desperate measure. The newly developed weapons, powered by Earth's greatest minds, were launched into the vastness of space. Among these weapons was the Pulse of Gaia, a devastating EMP-like blast capable of disabling the advanced energy shields of any alien fleet. The weapon was a gamble, and there was no guarantee it would work. But it was humanity's only hope. At the same time, humanity's last line of defense, the orbital defense grid, activated in full force. It was a massive network of satellites and planetary stations, designed to create a net of energy fields capable of repelling incoming fire. The only problem was that Earth's defense systems had been rushed into operation, and they were far from perfect. The first wave of Dravari ships came closer. Humanity's forces stood ready, each fleet nervously eyeing their instruments. The vastness of space felt infinitely more intimidating now that the world was on the line. And then, it happened. The Pulse of Gaia was fired, sending a shockwave of energy into the depths of space. The shockwave traveled faster than light, breaking through the defenses of the Dravari warships. The first ship, a heavily armored dreadnought, began to glow with an eerie blue light. Then, in a flash, it detonated in a cataclysmic explosion. The Dravari fleet staggered, their ships temporarily disoriented by the powerful EMP blast. This was humanity's chance. Earth's forces surged forward, firing everything they had. However, the Dravari quickly recovered. They adapted faster than anticipated, and their retaliatory fire was swift and unforgiving. A barrage of laser blasts tore through Earth's defense grid, knocking satellites out of orbit and devastating entire sections of the planetary defense system. Cities below felt the tremors as explosions rained down from above. Humanity's forces had struck hard, but the Dravari were not so easily defeated. Amidst the chaos, Captain Sharp's voice cut through the comm channels. "We've lost several stations, our defense grid is failing. We can't hold them off for much longer." Westbrook clenched her fists. The price of this war was becoming painfully clear. Earth had fought back with everything it had, but in doing so, they had paid a steep price. The damage to the planet was incalculable. Thousands had already lost their lives, and the Dravari were relentless. But humanity's spirit was unbroken. As much as Earth had suffered, as many lives as had been lost, the world was not prepared to back down. In a final, desperate attempt to change the course of the battle, Westbrook ordered the launch of Earth's last secret weapon, an experimental superweapon developed in the deepest bunkers of the Earth Defense Command. It was a long shot, a 1 in a million chance that it might just turn the tide. But for humanity to stand a chance, they had to go all in. The weapon, dubbed the Phoenix Protocol, was humanity's last hope. As the weapon fired, Earth's people held their breath. The fate of humanity was about to be decided. The Phoenix Protocol was a name that had only been whispered in the deepest vaults of Earth's military complex. It was a weapon of unimaginable potential, a culmination of humanity's finest minds working together in secret for decades. The plan had been devised in case Earth ever faced an existential threat, but it had been abandoned as too dangerous, too unpredictable. But now, desperate times had forced humanity to dust off the protocols and put them into action. The weapon itself was a massive, energy-based superlaser housed within an orbital station, located on the far side of Earth's moon. It was designed to deliver an unprecedented amount of concentrated energy, capable of bypassing even the most advanced alien shields. Its power was immense, too immense, in fact. The superlaser had never been tested on this scale, and no one knew whether it would even work. Worse still, the strain it would place on Earth's power grid could tear apart entire regions of the planet. But there was no time to reconsider. The Dravari fleet was almost upon Earth, and their attack was unrelenting. Every attempt to breach their defenses had failed. Earth's military forces were stretched to the brink. The pulse of Gaia had been humanity's best shot, but it had only delayed the inevitable. The time had come for the final gambit. The Phoenix Protocol was activated. Inside the underground command center, the tension was palpable. The air was thick with anticipation. President Westbrook stood at the center of the room, surrounded by her top advisors and military leaders. Every eye in the room was on the monitors, where the status of the Phoenix Protocol was displayed in real time. "Fire the weapon," Westbrook said, her voice resolute. A cold, mechanical voice responded from the system's AI, initializing Phoenix Protocol. "Charge at 80%. Power levels at critical." The station on the far side of the moon began to hum with energy, its vast array of power conduits and reactors working at full capacity. The light from the station flickered in the distance, visible to those on Earth who were watching in awe. The weapon was almost ready to fire. But as the power levels surged, something unexpected happened. A surge of Dravari fire slammed into the defense grid, causing ripples in Earth's atmosphere. One of the larger orbital defense stations was obliterated, sending debris cascading toward the planet. "We've lost another satellite," cried an operator from across the room. "The defense grid is collapsing." The Phoenix Protocol was their last hope. Yet the weapon was still charging. Every second felt like an eternity as the Dravari fleet continued its relentless advance. At 98%. "Charge complete," the AI reported, its voice tinged with urgency. The superlaser aimed itself at the heart of the Dravari fleet, at their flagship, the Kaltharoth, a massive leviathan of war that had been leading the assault on Earth. It was the Dravari's pride, a symbol of their dominance in the galaxy, and it was now positioned directly in Earth's sights. Westbrook stood motionless, eyes locked on the screen. "Fire!" The Phoenix Protocol unleashed its fury. A beam of pure, focused energy erupted from the orbital station, tearing through the fabric of space itself. The beam shot across the void, brighter than 1,000 suns, and slammed into the Kaltharoth with devastating force. For a moment, there was silence in the command center, everyone holding their breath, watching, waiting. Then, the explosion came. The Kaltharoth disintegrated in a violent burst of light. The blast sent shockwaves rippling through the Dravari fleet. Several other ships nearby were caught in the explosion, their shields unable to withstand the sheer magnitude of the Phoenix Protocol's blast. The Dravari fleet staggered, their formations thrown into disarray as smaller ships began to break apart. Earth's defenders watched in stunned silence as the Dravari flagship, the symbol of their power, was reduced to nothing but cosmic dust. It was a blow to their morale, a staggering loss. But as the explosion subsided, the full cost of the Phoenix Protocol became apparent. The energy blast had drained nearly every resource Earth had available. The strain on the planetary power grid was catastrophic. The Earth Defense Command, now operating on emergency reserves, was crippled. Whole cities lost power, their infrastructure shattered. Entire continents suffered rolling blackouts as the Phoenix Protocol's energy reserve was consumed in the single, desperate shot. The toll on Earth's population was dire. Millions of lives had already been lost in the war, and now entire regions faced power outages, communication blackouts, and widespread panic. But the Dravari were reeling. The death of the Kaltharoth had sent a powerful message: Earth was not to be underestimated. Humanity had struck back, and the Dravari fleet, though still formidable, was now fractured. The battle was far from over. But in that moment, as the dust settled from the explosion, the humans of Earth had proven something to the galaxy. They were no longer a defenseless species, no longer a faint blip on the galactic map. They had made their stand, and it had shaken the universe to its core. The universe held its breath after the explosion of the Kaltharoth. The Dravari flagship had been destroyed in a single, spectacular blast, its crew and command structure wiped out in an instant. For a moment, the remaining Dravari fleet faltered, stunned by the sheer audacity of humanity's strike. The loss of their flagship was a catastrophic blow, one that sent ripples of panic through the hearts of their leaders. But the Dravari were not a race known for their mercy. They were ruthless, brutal, and their pride had been wounded. With their most formidable ship now gone, their vengeance would be swift. Their retaliatory response came in waves, each one more ferocious than the last. Across Earth, the damage from the Phoenix Protocol was still being felt. The power grids had been crippled, and major cities were plunged into darkness. Communications were down, transportation was at a standstill, and the world was on the edge of collapse. The citizens of Earth, despite their triumph, found themselves facing a new kind of enemy, the collapse of their own infrastructure. As the battle in space continued, the reality of the war was now being felt at ground zero. President Westbrook stood in the ruins of what had once been the Central Command Center. The holographic maps of Earth's defenses were still flickering on a screen, but they were barely functioning. The once mighty Earth Defense Command had been crippled by the immense strain of the Phoenix Protocol. Westbrook's face was set in a determined expression, but the lines of exhaustion and worry were clear. "We've won the battle in space, but we've lost the war at home," said General Parker, his voice low and grim. He was one of the few leaders still standing in the aftermath of the Phoenix Protocol's cost. "Our cities are in ruins. Power outages are widespread. The population is in chaos. If we don't restore order soon, we'll lose everything." Westbrook nodded, the weight of the situation heavy on her shoulders. The Phoenix Protocol had been their last, desperate measure, and it had succeeded in crippling the Dravari fleet. But at what cost? Earth's resources were drained, its cities in ruins, and the Dravari were not retreating, they were preparing for the final onslaught. Back in the vastness of space, the Dravari regrouped, their ships moving in tighter formation. A new fleet, 100 times larger than the original, emerged from the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Their numbers had been replenished, their fleets reinforced with new, devastating technology. The Dravari were not backing down, they were preparing to launch their final, unstoppable strike. "Captain Sharp," Westbrook said as she turned to her military leader, "we need to strike before they do. We need to take advantage of the moment before they regroup completely." Sharp, though weary, looked up with renewed determination. "We can't move as we did before. Our forces are scattered, and many of our ships are damaged. But we still have one advantage: the Dravari have underestimated our resolve. We'll strike at their weak points, take out their supply lines. It's not much, but it's all we've got left." Earth's remaining fleet, though battered and broken, was ready to fight one final time. The humans had learned a valuable lesson from their early battles. The Dravari might have superior technology, but they lacked the human ability to innovate, to adapt quickly. Humanity's strength lay not in its numbers, but in its resilience, its willingness to improvise, and above all, its ability to unite in the face of overwhelming odds. As the Earth Defense Command scrambled to reorganize its forces, the Dravari launched their attack. A massive wave of ships descended toward Earth, their laser weapons cutting through space like knives. The humans had no illusions about victory. They knew the odds were still stacked against them. But they also knew that, for the first time in history, they were the ones in control of their fate. Captain Sharp gave the order to engage. The surviving human ships, though few in number, were equipped with the best technology Earth could muster. The remnants of Earth's fleet moved toward the Dravari, each ship carrying with it the hopes of billions. The final battle for Earth had begun. As the first shots rang out in the void of space, President Westbrook stood before a window, staring out at the stars. She could feel the weight of the moment, knowing that humanity's survival rested on a knife's edge. "This is it," she whispered, the words barely audible. "Either we win this, or we fall forever." The battle raged on, and Earth's remaining forces fought valiantly. They struck hard and fast, exploiting every weak point in the Dravari fleet. The Dravari, though formidable, were now spread thin, their numbers still considerable but no longer coordinated. Their leadership was fractured, their morale shattered. And slowly, piece by piece, humanity's forces began to break through. But as the tide of battle began to turn in humanity's favor, a new twist emerged, one that none of them had anticipated. A shadow fleet, one that had been hiding in the outer reaches of the solar system, emerged from the dark. These ships were not Dravari, nor were they human. They were an ancient race, long forgotten, one that had been watching the conflict unfold from afar. The true war had just begun. The new fleet that emerged from the dark depths of the outer solar system was unlike anything humanity had encountered before. These ships weren't Dravari, they weren't even human. They were sleek, with angular designs that defied any conventional understanding of spacecraft. Their hulls shimmered with an eerie, otherworldly light, and their weapons seemed to distort the very fabric of space itself when fired. For a moment, both the humans and the Dravari hesitated. Neither knew who these new arrivals were, but one thing was certain: this was no ordinary enemy. The new fleet was vast, far larger than anything humanity had ever faced, and it moved with a terrifying precision, as if coordinated by a mind that was anything but human. "Captain Sharp, do you have any intel on this new fleet?" President Westbrook asked, her voice tense but composed. Sharp stared at the incoming ships on the screen, his expression unreadable. "Negative, Madam President. These ships aren't Dravari. They're too advanced, too precise. We've never seen anything like this." Earth's remaining fleet hesitated for a moment as the new ships closed in, and the Dravari forces, also shocked by the unexpected appearance, regrouped defensively. The tension between the three factions was palpable in the void of space. There was an eerie stillness as the new fleet made no immediate move to attack. Instead, they merely hovered, as if waiting for something, perhaps a signal or a sign. Then, suddenly, a voice filled the communication channels, booming with an ancient authority that vibrated through the very air of every Earth ship. "This is the Empire of the Obsidian Star," the voice declared. It was deep, resonant, and unyielding. "We have been watching your struggle, humans, as you fight for survival. But know this, you are but pawns in a greater game. The words echoed in the minds of the humans and Dravari alike, their meaning sinking in like a cold dagger. This was not an ally, nor was it a mere third party. The empire of the Obsidian Star was something much older, something far more powerful. As if to demonstrate their power, the ships of the Obsidian Star unleashed a barrage of energy that struck the Dravari fleet with devastating precision. The energy pulses distorted space itself, creating temporary rifts in the fabric of reality that tore through Dravari ships, ripping them apart as though they were mere paper. The once mighty Dravari fleet, already battered from the Phoenix Protocol's attack, began to crumble under the onslaught. What is this?" General Parker gasped, staring at the destruction unfolding on the screen. They're annihilating them," Westbrook finished, her voice hard. "Whoever they are, they're not here to make peace." The Dravari, their forces decimated by the new fleet, tried to regroup. But the Obsidian Star's ships were relentless. They cut through the Dravari ranks with surgical precision, their weapons bypassing shields and tearing through armor. The Dravari flagship's defenses, already weakened, collapsed under the concentrated fire, and the once proud empire of the Dravari was swiftly reduced to rubble. With their forces in disarray, the Dravari attempted to retreat, but the Obsidian Star's fleet pursued them with a cold, methodical intensity. The Dravari's prideful resistance was met with nothing but destruction. Then, just as abruptly as the attack had started, the Obsidian Star fleet halted. Their ships pulled back, their weapons powered down, and the voice that had filled Earth's comms returned. "You have seen what we are capable of, humans. This is your final warning," the voice rumbled. "Do not challenge us again. The galaxy does not belong to you." And then, as if the battle had never happened, the ships of the Obsidian Star turned and began to fade back into the black void of space, their sleek forms disappearing without a trace. For a long, silent moment, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. "Captain Sharp, what just happened?" President Westbrook asked, her voice quiet but filled with an underlying fear. "Who are they?" "I don't know, Madam President," Sharp replied, his voice tight with uncertainty. "But whatever they are, they've just wiped out the Dravari like they were nothing. We've never faced anything like them. They didn't even seem to care about us. We've been fighting for survival, only to realize there are forces in this galaxy far older and more powerful than we could ever imagine," Westbrook murmured, staring out at the stars. "Our struggle was never just against the Dravari. There's a larger game at play here, and we've just become part of it." The battle for Earth had taken an unexpected turn. Humanity's fight for survival, which had begun with the Dravari, was now entangled with something far more dangerous. The Obsidian Star had shown their power, and they had done so without mercy or hesitation. With the Dravari all but wiped out and Earth's future uncertain, humanity now faced a terrifying new reality. The Obsidian Star's message was clear: Earth had been spared, but that was not out of kindness, it was a warning. Now, the human race would have to decide: would they fight to reclaim their place in the galaxy, or would they fall in line, crushed under the weight of a power far greater than anything they had ever known? The true war for humanity's future was only just beginning. The immediate danger had passed. The Obsidian Star's fleet had vanished into the void, leaving Earth's defenders in a stunned silence. But the message they left behind was clear: Earth was a mere pawn in a far grander scheme, and their survival was not guaranteed by mere chance. Humanity had faced the Dravari, defeated them in the unlikeliest of ways, but now, a new threat loomed, one that dwarfed everything Earth had ever known. In the aftermath of the battle, Earth's leaders gathered in the newly formed Global Council's temporary command center, which had been set up to restore order to the fractured planet. Though the threat from the Dravari had diminished, humanity was far from safe. The Obsidian Star had made its intentions clear, and now the question lingered in every mind: how could humanity survive in a galaxy where such powers existed? President Westbrook, standing before a shattered map of Earth's defenses, addressed the Council. The message from the Obsidian Star was clear. "We have no idea why they spared us, but we can't afford to waste this opportunity. We've been given a reprieve, but at what cost? Our world is in ruins, our power is nearly depleted, and now we know that we aren't alone in the universe. We've seen the true scale of galactic power, and it's far beyond anything we ever imagined." Her words hung heavy in the room, her eyes scanning the room full of world leaders and military commanders. No one had an answer. The Dravari, though defeated, had left their mark on Earth, and the obsidian star had shown a terrifying glimpse of what lay beyond. "Do we stand by and accept our fate?" asked General Parker, his voice strained with frustration. "We're survivors. We've fought tooth and nail to get this far. Why should we simply bend the knee to a race that just wiped out our enemies without a second thought? Why not fight back?" "We could try," Sharp interjected, his tone calm but firm, "but we need to understand the consequences. We have no idea who, or what, we're dealing with here. The obsidian star could obliterate us with the flick of a switch. The way they annihilated the Dravari without even breaking a sweat, it's not something we can just ignore." Silence filled the room again. The council members exchanged uneasy glances, the weight of the decision pressing on them. Humanity had always prided itself on its spirit of defiance, but this was something different. The obsidian star was not a foe they could hope to match in conventional battle. This was a power beyond anything humanity had ever known. "I agree with Captain Sharp," Westbrook said after a long pause. "We can't act rashly. We don't know their full capabilities, but one thing is certain: if we provoke them, we risk everything. However, we can't just lay down and surrender either. This galaxy, this universe, is now open to us, for better or worse. And we can't turn our backs on that. We need to prepare, to learn, and to understand what we're up against." As the council members nodded in agreement, a plan began to form, one that focused on knowledge and strategy. Humanity had to understand the true nature of the obsidian star, what motivated them, what their goals were, and how Earth could fit into the larger galactic picture. Westbrook ordered Earth's scientific and diplomatic teams to initiate contact with any factions willing to share information, while Earth's military began training for a new kind of warfare, one that relied on intelligence and adaptability rather than brute force. "We need to unite our species like never before," Westbrook continued. "We have proven that we can fight and win when we have to. Now, we need to be smarter, faster, and more prepared. We need allies. And above all, we need to understand our place in this galaxy." But as the Earth began to regroup, one man stood alone, watching the stars. Captain Sharp had been a fierce defender of Earth throughout the conflict, but now, as the new age of galactic politics loomed on the horizon, he found himself questioning the future. Could humanity truly survive in a galaxy where the obsidian star existed, and where unknown forces could wipe them out at any moment? There was no easy answer, no clear path forward. But one thing was certain: humanity could not afford to sit idly by. They had earned their place in the universe through sheer will and tenacity, and while the obsidian star had spared them, it was not out of kindness. It was a warning, a message to stay in line or face annihilation. But Sharp could not ignore the fire burning within him. It was the same fire that had driven humanity to stand up against the Dravari, to defy the odds and win a battle that no one thought they could. It was the fire of survival, of hope, and of a deep, burning need to prove that Earth would not be a footnote in the history of the galaxy. As the stars twinkled above, Sharp knew one thing: humanity had a choice. They could cower in fear, or they could rise to the challenge. They could fold in the face of a galactic empire, or they could build something that the universe would never forget. The future was theirs to shape. To the stars, and beyond, Sharp whispered to himself, looking out into the vast unknown. The universe was vast, its mysteries deep, but one thing was clear: humanity's story was far from over. It had only just begun. And this time, it would not be a tale of submission, but one of defiance, a defiance that would echo through the stars for eons to come. The true battle for humanity's future had just begun.